Now, though, it's time for tonight's main event, as I lock horns with Albie Amankona in the Saturday Scrap. Now, more than 600 lawyers, academics and retired judges this week wrote to the Prime Minister, warning that the UK government is breaching international law, we hear that every week, by continuing to arm Israel. But former Prime Minister Boris Johnson says in the Daily Mail that banning arms sales to Israel would be insane. So, to the surprise of no one, Albie Amankona backs it. Albie, I'm confident you were on the totally wrong side on this one, so I'm going to let you kick us off.
Of course you are, Darren, because you don't have one single good argument in you for this. It is time to end arms sales to Israel. Now, I have been a proud supporter of Israel and their right to defend themselves after the awful terrorist attacks of Hamas on October the 7th. In fact, it's been almost 6 months to that day as we sit here in the studio speaking about this tonight. But in that time, we've seen tens of thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians be killed by IDF strikes. And earlier on this week, I think it was in fact last Sunday, we saw 3 British aid workers killed in a targeted strike during the conflict. 3 separate trucks were struck by 3 separate weapons in a targeted strike against 3 trucks, which were aid trucks, but they thought they were Hamas trucks. Now, if Israel's intel is so poor that they are striking aid trucks carrying British workers, we cannot be supplying arms to an army which is not operating in the correct and proper way, whether or not they are breaking international law. It could have been British weapons that killed those British people.
Now, Albie, what I would say to that, though, is that David Cameron, when he was Prime Minister, we got involved in Libya. We intervened in Libya. Now, what happened in Libya was that 2 or 3 paramedics were killed whilst trying to heal people, to protect them from egregious harm and all the rest of it, because Libya was so unstable, and they were killed whilst doing that in a friendly fire incident. Now, nobody then suggested that the arms embargoes should be put on the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, because we accepted that in the theatre of war, horrible, tragic mistakes happen, for which Israel has apologised and actually sacked those responsible for that egregious, awful error. I think Israel is facing a civilizational moment. I think it's highlighted in what Benjamin said earlier about Iran and the threat Iran pose to our country. Now, that is even greater in the state of Israel. Iran are using their proxies throughout the Middle East to actually attack and wipe Israel off the map.
But I
think we would be doing a great disservice to Western civilization if we allow a country that, since its inception, since it was created 75 years ago, has actually been bombarded, threatened, pilloried at every twist and turn. We, I think, would actually be saying goodbye to Western civilization if we allow Israel to be wiped off the map.
I think you're being a bit overdramatic when you say we would be saying goodbye to Western civilization if we essentially stop arming Israel. Israel will be fine without our arms. It's actually a relatively small amount of arms that we give to Israel, but it is about the message that it sends the international community.
So should America do it as well?
Are not. Yes, I do actually think the West.
So no one should.
I think the West.
No one should arm
I think
Israel.
the West as a whole should stop licensing weapons to Israel, because the way they are prescribing
to Israel as a
the way they are prescribing this war in Israel and Gaza is totally unacceptable.
To Israel as a consequence?
And
You've said all of that.
No,
we haven't got very long.
And what I'm saying is, how many acts of violence do you say until you say it is enough? It is enough. We cannot support this sort of violent action when British aid workers are being killed and tens of thousands No, Darren, don't put words in my mouth. I do not support Israel killing thousands of children in Palestine, even if I want the state of Israel to exist. They are prescribing this war in an awful way.
Benjamin, what I would say is that as far as the United Nations and other experts in the area have said that as far as urban warfare is concerned, the death the toll, and this is bearing in mind that Hamas are using the population as human shields. The death toll has actually, for urban warfare, been tremendously low when you compare it to other large-scale, similar-scale wars around the world.
Yeah, I mean, compare it with what we did to Germany, of course. You know, we don't have a problem with that. But, you know, look, first of all, you've had your point. First of all, I don't accept the numbers that come out of Gaza for a split second.
Why not?
There's no other terrorist organisation where we take them at their word. Seemingly, they can have an attack and then they have an exact number the next day. If they're that good at numbers, they should be accountants, not terrorists.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.